Welcome to the All Access Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Joseph Bruen. Here with me today, a very special guest, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tim Dry. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, everyone. It's very wonderful to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure to have you here. Appreciate you taking the time, and we're going to take a look at your career and kind of take a quick deep dive.
Woohoo. Good luck.
So rewinding to the beginning. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's been a very varied career, but hey, let's delve in.
Yeah, you've done a lot, and I look forward to talking about this. You know, growing up, you what were your first memories of film? Growing up as a child or young adult?
First memories of film? Do you mean actually going to the cinema, or?
Yeah, going to the cinema.
Yeah. I was 7 years old, and my mum and dad took me to see Ben-Hur at our local cinema, and I was just transfixed by it. I mean, it was an epic on every single scale, and I fell in love sort of platonically with Masala, the baddie, because he had the coolest clothing, and he rode the best chariot, and he was an evil mother, and I got obsessed with that movie, with Romans and Greek mythology. So I think I actually went to see Ben-Hur 11 times from the age of 7.
Wow!
And then that led me on to other epic movies like Spartacus, Fall of the Roman Empire, El Cid, Jason and the Argonauts. That was the second big one for me. I just thought.
You became
what?
Oh, you went on to become a mime artist. I would love to hear about that and your background in that.
Well, that's a bit of a leap, isn't it? Well, Jason and the Argonauts has this wonderful bronze giant called Talos, who's a sculpture that, unfortunately, Hercules and his little chum have unleashed his ability to become mobile. And what I remember most, I was probably 8 or 9 years old, was the sort of creaking movement as he came to life. And he was huge, and I just thought, wow, that is so cool. But how did I become a mime artist? You are probably searching for. Well, I saw David Bowie in May 1972 playing a small gig on the very beginning of his Ziggy Stardust tour in 1972. And I'd never seen anyone, who looked like him, but who moved like him. And he would illustrate songs in a kind of physical way that, Elvis or the Beatles or anyone else had never done before. And that really intrigued me. And I did some research, and I found that he trained in this art form called mime with a man called Lindsay Kemp. And it took me 4 years, but I eventually plucked up the courage to move to London and to find a mime tutor who could teach me the physical art of mime. And I did some workshops with Lindsay Kemp, and I had a wonderful tutor named Desmond Jones. And it was through him I got the Star Wars gig and other things. But I was a trained graphic artist, and so I thought that was what I wanted to do, but it wasn't really. And I found myself at art school designing packets for Kraft cheese or something. And I just thought, nah, this is not really what I want. I should have done fine art. I used to walk past the fine art hut, and there'd be guys there in duffel coats and, looking really cool, and throwing paint at canvases and tearing up newsprint and sticking it on this. And I thought, damn. So I left, and I became a bit of a hippie living in Brighton down on the south coast of England, exploring inner and outer space, shall we say. And I moved back home, and then I suddenly thought, I've got to go to London and study mime. I've got to know about this strange art form. Because in England in 1975, mime was not heard of. We heard about Marcel Marceau, but that was it. And I thought, well, this is like some secret society that I'm joining. And it was fantastic because there'd be a class of 25 of us. And we'd all be so enthusiastic, and we go to the pub afterwards and we talk about mime and the esoteric aspects of it, and learning this wonderful technique where you could tell a story with your body without using this. And I became obsessed with it, and that took me, 6 years until I got the Star Wars job. But I trained seriously well, in this art form. It's fantastic. And it really, sorry.
I was going to say in 1980, you became part of a popular duo, Tick and Tock. How did that start?
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, Sean Crawford, who was the other mime artist in Tick and Tock, and I were part of a group called Shop. And we were a kind of mime theatre, dance, burlesque troupe that somehow got involved in the whole new romantic Blitz Club scene in London in 1980. And we met a couple of guys, Rusty Egan, who was the DJ at Blitz, and another drummer called Richard Burgess, who had a band called Landscape. And they created an electro single of a song by the Glitter Band, Gary Glitter's band, called Angel Face. And they wanted someone to front it. So Shock were fronting this single. And we were gigging everywhere. We supported everyone, Gary Newman, Ultravox, Depeche Mode, everyone. And then two of the people left, so that left only four of us. And so Sean and I decided to become Tick and Tock, these two robotic mime artists. That was our act. We'd do a robotic mime movement. And we'd stand outside nightclubs late at night in our white face, shades on, and just move when anyone came in or out of the restaurant. And they'd be chucking money into this top hat. And we thought, wow, this is brilliant. So that's how that started, really. It was going from busking to suddenly getting onto TV and doing TV shows. It just led on to, what's going to happen next, Star Wars and everything else.
Yeah, 1983 would come around, and of course, Return of the Jedi. The third installment of the Star Wars franchise at that point. What was that experience like? The auditioning process. How did you get involved?
Okay, well, it all started in January 1982 when our mime tutor Desmond Jones phoned us up and said, "Look, I've been contacted by the casting director of the new Star Wars movie, and they're looking for mime artists to play alien creatures in the new movie. So can you and a few others come to my school on Saturday, the 9th of January, which happened to be my birthday?" And we turned up at Desmond's school in West London, and there were, I think, probably about 25 of us. And he said, "Okay, guys, this is Robert Watts. He's the producer. And there's blah, blah, the casting director. Do some alien acting." Okay. So we did 20 minutes, and he goes, "Okay, that's great. Thank you. Okay, bye." And we left, and we thought, oh, that would have been great, wouldn't it? If only. And a week later, Desmond phoned up and said, "You got the job. You're going to Elstree Studios next week for a costume fitting."
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, see, Sean and I, as Tick and Tock, we were doing weekly cabaret at a place called Coconut Grove, which is a cocktail bar in West London. And we thought, well, that's it. That's what we're doing. And then suddenly we're on our way to Elstree, and we go in to meet the wardrobe department, and they had all the costumes there. and they sort of looked at us and said, "Okay, Tim, you're quite tall. We're going to give you Toothface. Sean, you're a little bit smaller. You can be Yak Face. Graham, you can be whatever, you know." And that's how it happened. It was purely because of our mime training, not because of anything else. It was if the costume fitted, we got the
Sure.
gig, you know.
And obviously, it started off, like you said, as Toothface would become Jay Quill, also known as
Yeah,
Whipped. Now, why did it have two names, Jay Quill and Whipped? Do you know the history of
oh,
that?
I do. Well, this was a lot later. I mean, literally in 2002, Sean and I were contacted by somebody who wanted us to sign some pictures of us as our characters in Star Wars. And we thought, wow, that's weird. Because you get on with the rest of your life. You got married, you got divorced, you got kids, you got whatever. And we met this guy in a bar in Notting Hill, and he said, "Okay, look, we've got these photographs of you. You're called Jay Quill, and he's a whippet." What? So it was Jay Quill is the name of the character who is of a species called whippet. It's like calling your dog Rover, but he's a
Okay.
dog, you know. So suddenly I'm Jay Quill, and Sean was Yak Face, and everyone else was whatever, Max Rebo, whatever. Um, and so we signed all these pictures, and he had posters and stuff, and we thought, blimey, this is amazing. And he paid us something like 80 quid each, and we came away from this bar in Notting Hill thinking, whoa, this is great. This is something we did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then he said, do you ever do conventions? And we said, what do you mean? Conventions of what? Thinking horrible businessmen with suits on. He goes, no, there's Star Wars autograph conventions all over the world. You're kidding, really? Because we had no knowledge. This things had grown up like mushrooms while we were asleep.
Right.
And he put us onto a guy called Paul Miley, who did a show in East London called JediCon. And he said, yeah, guys, come along. I'll pay you 200 quid cash. Wow. You know, and out of nowhere, this is brilliant. And so that's how it started. And we met at that particular convention. We met Marina Sirtis from Star Trek. We met lovely Jeremy Bulloch, R.I.P., who was Boba Fett. We met Chris Parsons. We met Michael Sheard. And suddenly you find yourself part of this sort of unit, and which we'd never thought about. It was amazing. It really was amazing.
So when you're traveling to these cons, do you remember some of the other than Jedi cons, some of the other cons that
Yeah.
you've been to so far, and maybe your best fan interaction so far?
Well, to be honest, most of the cons I've done have been Star Wars ones. Um, I did do a Days of the Dead convention in Indianapolis in 2011, I think, because after Jedi, I got the role of playing an alien monster in a horror movie called Extro, which is now a cult movie, more so in the States actually, but also it's very big in Germany. Um, and I did that. It's like you've gone from a very big Hollywood, big budget movie to an indie movie filming in the woods in Buckinghamshire, wearing a skin tight rubber suit, crawling backwards with your head on the wrong way round. Um, that's not an experience I would want to donate to anyone else. But that's now led me into doing more sort of horror conventions. Um, have I frozen here?
Yeah, you just froze there. That's a should
Ah,
usually it
here we
adjusts.
go. I'm back.
There you go.
Phew. Sorry, just had a
Yeah,
blackout
that's all
there.
right.
Um, no, at the moment, the Star Wars thing, because there's so many offshoots of Star Wars now, I can't keep up with them. There's Andor, there's Solo, there's blah de blah, there's boom boom. When we started off doing conventions, there was just the original trilogy,
Right.
and then you had the prequels, and then the sequels, and then it all went, global. So we don't get as much attention as we used to. But you know what? I'm just immensely glad that we got what we did after all those years. I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing, isn't it? You know, you do a job 1982 and 20 years later, you're signing pictures of yourself. You couldn't make it up, you
Right.
know?
And Star Wars fans are special. Star Wars fans stand out. They don't just appreciate, the Luke Skywalker and the Han Solo. They appreciate everybody involved in the film behind the
Mm,
scenes and smaller roles. And, that's what it's all about. It's like a big family.
yeah. I mean, one of the things I did notice fairly early on was that you'd actually get three generations coming along. You get the dad who may be my age, in 20, 2017 or something, and his son and his son, and they all love the original trilogy. And they'd always say, "So, what's your favorite movie, Tim?" And I'd always say, "It's got to be The Empire Strikes Back," you know.
Yeah.
And they go, "Yeah, that's our favorite too." I mean, I should say Return of the Jedi, but for me, hush me, George Lucas. It was the Ewoks that kind of spoilt it, really.
Okay.
It all got a bit coupley, you know,
Just
teddy
didn't do
bears.
it for you.
Nah. But
Empire Strikes
Empire,
Back is definitely the
it's
most
it's
popular.
it's it's dark, and because the first one was, I know exactly how George Lucas put it all together. It's a combination of the Arthurian myths of King Arthur in England, Lancelot, Guinevere, heroes, and also Joseph Campbell, sort of esoteric philosopher, wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and he said that this the archetype of the hero travels through centuries. He may have a different incarnation every time, but it's the same character. And he put all this together and created the Star Wars, not just Star Wars. And he thought, well, no one else is going to pick this up. You know, he did a movie called THX 1138. You should know what that is. His
Yes.
first movie, black and white.
Yep.
Come on, what was it? THX 1138.
1138. Yes.
Yeah, and somehow he got enough kudos from doing that to be able to generate enough dough to get the first Star Wars done. And everyone's saying, well, who wants sci-fi movies these days? We've already had, 2001. We've had this. We've had that. It's like it's over. And he persevered, bless him. And guess what? He proved the entire world wrong.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it started off with such a small budget, and nobody really, like you said, thought anything of it as far as how far it would go, and it went
No.
on to become arguably the biggest franchise of all time.
You see, Sir Alec Guinness, was very clever. I mean, he was offered his part in the movie, and he said, "Look, I don't want a fee. I'll accept a percentage of the profits," which is unheard of. Sir Alec Guinness was a major British actor, and I don't know what percentage he got. It's something like 0.1% of the profits of the first Star Wars movie, and of course he cleaned up enormously. And so there was obviously something in Alec's little brain that said, you know what, this might actually go somewhere.
Yeah.
So instead of just getting, 10 grand for doing his Ben Kenobi bit, he said, no, I'm going for a percentage of the profit.
He saw the writing on
Brilliant.
the wall.
Absolutely. I mean,
So,
yeah, sorry. Go on.
oh, sorry. I was just going to say, Empire Strikes Back, obviously, with most fans, that seems to be the most popular film. And
Mm,
as it was, a wonderful film, for me personally, growing up as a kid, it was Return of the Jedi for me,
right.
more so because of Jabba's palace and all
Yeah.
of the great characters. And, for
Yeah.
me, that was just so special, growing up as a kid. I always loved the mystique of, you see a lot of them in the background. You're always seeing somebody new every time you watch it, and it was so special. I thought at that time.
It was very strange for us mime artists because we were hired, so we will be able to inhabit, the costumes and make the movements real. But by the time we got onto the set, there's so many extras there. There's the cameras, there's the principals, the lights, the sounds. We couldn't really move at all, and most of us that were in Jabba's palace are really just motionless. Uh, it was really strange. It's like, oh, okay. Well, we did get to watch, Princess Leia in her bikini, which was at least I could actually see out of the front of my head. But I mean, in those days, my costume was a three-layered outfit. I had a skin-tight bodysuit on, and then a padded foam suit over that, and then this horrible kind of fake fur bits which smelt of rancid, whatever, and this big fiberglass head. And
Oh,
it was so big I could only look out of my nostrils. And so
wow.
to move my head was a major sort of movement. And after the first day, some of the other mime artists were actually sort of passing out because you got no air, you can't breathe. And
Sure.
so some bright makeup lady said, "Okay, look, we can take the heads off in between shots, and we'll blow cold air with hair dryers down the back of their necks." And we thought, "Oh, that's brilliant, thank you." Because
Wow.
once you were our set in Jabba's palace was 6 feet off the ground, right? 6 feet.
Sure.
So if you needed a pee or worse, that's it. Forget it, mate. Don't have the beans at lunch. That was always my advice. Or don't drink too much coffee either. But because there were puppeteers under the set doing, Sly Snoodles or whoever, but you were on set for the duration until lunch, and that's it. And then you're back in the afternoon. But what got me the first day we went onto the set was how real it all was, you know, because we'd all seen Doctor Who with sort of people running down a corridor and the walls are wobbling as they run past.
Right.
Um, but for this, you had a ceiling, you had four walls, you had a floor, and it was all horrible, manky, sort of slimy kind of jabber juice.
So it was a real room.
Yeah, a big room.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so what they do is that they do one setup one day, then they say, okay, well, we're going to take out that bit of the wall today. So we put the camera in there, but everything else was still totally real. I
Wow.
mean, and we did, I think we did probably 3 weeks in Jabba's palace, which was, we didn't do a lot, but then they said, okay, we're doing a scene now on Jabba's sail barge. Not the one that was shot in California. That was another. This was on the back lot at Elstree, and that was really claustrophobic, But we're all crammed in there. And this is the moment when Princess Leia strangles Jabba,
Yes.
which is pretty intense when it's happening about that far away from you. You think, bloody hell.
Right.
Ooh, suits you, sir. So that was that, and we did all the Jabba stuff, and we went home, and then they phoned up the next week or so and said, okay, we need some of you guys back to do Mon Calamari Men. So there's me, Gerald Holm, Sean, probably Simon Williamson, I think, Paul Springer, and we all fitted the same costume, very lightweight, lovely. Oh, we can move, we can see where we're going. And we're on Akbar's ship, and doing a lot of panic acting. David Tomlin, who was the first AD, would always shout out. He's got a very loud voice. Okay, panic acting. And so we all go, oh. And there we are in that movie. So we played two different characters in the same movie, which is pretty cool.
Wow. Well, one of the things I was always wondering was you were obviously, stationed in the main room of Jabba's palace there with Jabba.
Yeah, yeah,
Now, in the movie, there's the big door that opens at the beginning. C-3PO and R2-D2 enter. It's a hallway.
yeah,
You
yeah,
got the Gamorrean guards in the hallway.
yeah.
Now, what did that hallway look like without the movie magic? Was it a very small, short hallway, or was it?
We never saw it because
Oh, okay.
you have to imagine that we were ushered from our dressing room onto the set where we were going to be stuck for the duration.
all right.
So we didn't see any of the Gamorrean guard falling down the stairs or anything like that. I mean, there are some interesting things. There was a light creature, a light man. You remember that? It was a guy in a suit who was covered in sort of lit light bulbs. And he
Oh,
was
yeah.
part of, but he never made the movie. But obviously we didn't see that. But it was just like
Right.
kind of strange idea. I mean, we did witness the whole thing of Ula getting chucked into the rancor pit,
Right.
And that, yeah, we saw all of the whole thing where Leia comes in disguised and she's got this sort of what do you call it, the thermal thingy, bomb thing. She's disguised and Jabba doesn't know it's her, but she has a thermal, there's a word for it, thermal grenade, something. Anyway, so we saw all of that stuff going on, and then we saw poor old Simon Williamson, bless him, played the Gamorrean guard who gets chucked into the rancor pit. So we just saw him disappear, and that was it. We didn't see anything else.
Sure.
But it was extraordinary because up until that time, my only experience of filming was as a mime artist on TV shows, which is all, okay, Tim, you got your 20 minutes, there you go, boom, boom, boom. Okay, bye. This was something else. It was just like the attention to detail, extraordinary,
And for you, how many days did this require, and how long were the days? How many takes were there?
Ooh, well, according to my diary, I think we did 3 weeks in Jabba's palace.
Wow.
And that would have included the sail barge job as well. Because they would add there's one scene when I think it's Han Solo is released from the carbonite and he's sort of embracing Leia, and there's a curtain and you hear this
Yes.
and the curtain pulls back and there's Jabba and a few of his mates, of which I'm one. And that we're just sort of standing there going, yeah, there wasn't a lot of direction. I mean, to be honest, no disrespect to Richard Marquand, but he was more concerned with directing the principals than us lot.
Okay.
So we were corralled, if you like, by David Tomlin, bless him, who also directed and co-wrote a lot of the Prisoner series. Do you ever get that in the States?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So he would sort of bellow us into action for various things. But I do have one little funny moment.
Sure.
My girlfriend at the time said, "Oh, I so love Harrison Ford. Oh, can you get his autograph for me, please? Please, pretty please." So I said, "Yeah, sure, honey." Being a big, movie star now.
Right.
And in the lunch hour, I've taken off my head, obviously, in my top half. I'm just wearing a horrible old sweaty white T-shirt, but I've still got my big furry trousers and boots on,
Yeah.
And I go back onto the set and I see Harrison. He's sitting in his canvas chair and he's sort of studiously reading the script, thinking, how the fuck am I going to make sense of this? Sorry, bleep that word. Anyway, so I approach him tentatively and say, "Excuse me, Mr. Ford." He looks up and goes, "Whoa." "Yes. Hey, What's up, kid? Can I possibly have your autograph for my girlfriend? He goes, hey, sure, no problem. And he tears off a little bit of the script, writes his name on it, There you go. I think, oh, thank you so much.
Wow.
Somehow, in between leaving the set and going back to the dressing room, I lost it.
Oh, no.
So, the scenario is I've got to go home that night and say, and she goes, did you get Harrison's autograph? I said, oh, I tried, but he was so busy.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I don't know how the hell, I didn't have any pockets or anything. So somehow Harrison's autograph dropped from my personage somewhere on the set,
Well, when you've got that all going on, it's tough to keep it in great condition, I guess, and keep track of it.
We did like Mark Hamill, actually. He was the same sort of age as us, sort of early 30s. And I remember one day he said, hey, guys, do you know any clubs in London I can go to? And we said, yeah, we know a few. Hey, say no more. And he came in the next morning with a bit of a twinkle going, yeah, that was a good one. Like that.
That's great. Now, when it comes to, Mon Calamari officer, when it comes to the costume, what was that costume like for you?
Oh, that was fantastic. Because all you had was a slightly sort of protruding belly foam thing and a very almost like a sort of combat sort of outfit on top and latex heads, not fiberglass. The Jedi heads were fiberglass. They're heavy, hard stuff, So we could actually sort of move about and see things, and that was great fun actually. But I think there's one scene on that bar ship where I'm on the console on the right. If that bar's in the middle, I'm on the console, keyboard thing on the right, and I think maybe Paul Springer's on the left. Sean's sort of standing next to me, and Gerald Home, bless him, is at the back trying to tap in info on the screen, but because he couldn't see anything properly, because you still had to look out of your nostrils.
Was that Squid?
He's tapping the wrong things, But hey, sorry.
Oh no, I was just asking. Was he the squid head?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. R.I.P. Gerald, lovely man.
Yeah, he was a great guy. I had the opportunity to meet him. I think it was probably about 2014. Very nice man.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say that everyone that I've known over the last, 34 years have always been lovely from the original lot.
Yeah. A lot of great people.
I mean, Gerald, especially Jeremy Bullock. Oh, fantastic. Lovely man. Dave Prowse.
Yes.
Kenny Baker, bless him. Well, the list is unfortunately going on and on, but it was an extraordinary experience and one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life as a performer, and one that I never thought would continue this long,
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
And when it comes to the Mon Calamari officer, when it comes to Jay Quill, when it comes to the Yak Face, were those costumes preserved? Were they saved, or were they tossed out afterwards?
Oh, well, we don't know that, do we? I mean, I don't think anyone knows that. Not even Steve Sansweet, bless him, who is the sort of custodian of the Lucas legacy. I these days you would obviously you keep the Deadpool costume for the Avengers stuff, but in those days, I think, to be perfectly honest, it probably would have rotted away. Because they were using 1982 latex wasn't as sort of sexy and as pliable as it is now. If you didn't look after it, it would just go,
Sure.
So, and also that horrible fur thing. I mean, the fiberglass. Actually, the funny thing happened a few years back. I did a show called the Star Wars Fan Fun Day, which is held every couple of years in the north of or middle of England. Anyway, I'm there, signing my pictures and stuff, and this guy turns up, and he's got an entire J. Quill Whippet costume on,
Wow.
but he's quite a small guy, and I had to say, "Aren't you a little short to be a Whippet?" Um, but bless him, he'd actually made the whole damn thing himself.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he didn't actually make the head because it's perfect. Uh, so I don't know. I mean, I know that Squid Head and Yap Face and a few others have had their heads sort of created by an artist, sculptor. Um, fantastic. But mine's a bit more difficult. It's a bit more. It's not very flexible.
Sure.
Anyway,
Let's talk about your music background as well. You have
sure,
a
right.
music background. Let's hear about that.
Okay. Gosh. Well, it all started back in 1965 when I got my first guitar. I learned to play the guitar because everyone did when you're 13. That's what you do. And you played Dylan songs and Donovan songs and all that stuff. And then I got into electric guitar, having seen The Who and Cream and all of those bands. And I flirted with a couple of bands and blah 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 blah. Then I got heavily involved in the whole acting thing, and it was only in the mid '80s when I suddenly discovered the joys of having a 4-track tape recorder where you could overdub. You put the drum pack,
Sure.
the drum track down. You could overdub the guitar, then bounce that onto the next track, and then add a bass guitar, blah blah blah. Then you do vocals, and I made a few singles like that, and it didn't surpass my aspirations to be a proper actor, but it's always been there. And it was only when I got my first Apple Mac computer in 1999 that I suddenly was given the opportunity to learn this application called Logic, where it acts like a 24 or 32 track recording studio on your laptop. So you could have guitars, drums, bass, vocals, FX, whatever. And I started to make a whole load of music for myself. And that was very satisfying because it's a great way to express your feelings.
Sure.
My so-called acting career never really led me to any great heights. I did my usual TV shows like The Bill, EastEnders, Casualty, all that sort of stuff. A few stage plays, okay, but it wasn't really me. I never felt able to give myself to a character created by someone else. So music was a great way of expressing anger or love or trust, belief, or whatever. And then only a few years back, I was contacted by a guy called Dave Turner, who releases albums and pays the artist for the rights to release their music and sells them on eBay and Discogs. And that reintroduced my love of making music. And I've had 3 albums released through him, 2 Tick and Talk albums remastered, and one of my own albums of my own music remixed and remastered. And so that sort of element is still there. But also writing short horror stories is now very much a part of my creative process. Oh, it sounds terribly pretentious, but people often say, "How would you define yourself?" And I say, "A media polymath."
Right.
But that that just means that you're sort of moderately good at more than one thing, you know. So nothing has ever been more important than any other. Whatever I'm doing at the time is the most important, you know.
Sure, you put everything into it.
Yeah, if you don't, it ain't going to work, you know. Writing obviously is a different kettle of fish because you don't need anyone else to do it.
Right.
It's you and your imagination and your laptop or your notebook or whatever. So I'm sort of in between. I don't know what to do at the moment. I'm a little bit sort of. I've done the music, I've done the writing, I've done the acting, I've done the mime stuff. Or what do I do next? Do I take up macrame and learn how to crochet a sweater or something?
Well, speaking of your writing, 2005 and 2013, Falling Upwards. Let's talk about that. How that came about.
Sure. Well, I think it was when I reached the age of 50, 24 years ago. Oh God. And I thought, okay, I've done a lot of strange but interesting things in my life. It's time to write it all down, you know. And I made a conscious decision to not make it a chronological autobiography because I get very bored with reading about, blah de blah. Oh, I was born in blah blah, and then this happened, and then eventually you get to the good bit. I just thought, well, I'm going to start with the good bit and then go back, you know.
Right.
So my autobiography starts with me being in bed with Joan Collins, and she turns to me and says, "I've got to go to work now, darling, but I'll see you this evening." And I thought, well, I did actually do a movie with Joan Collins, so it's not totally, fake. But I just thought, wow, because I've pretty much always kept diaries day to day. I don't mean detailed diaries, not like, Anne Frank or something. No, sorry, whatever. But I know what I did on a certain day at a certain month in a certain year. So I could then rekindle that. Oh, that's when I saw David Bowie, and that's when I went to Angie Bowie's house in Oakley Street, and when I did this, And it was very satisfying and very, to have it all together as a sort of item. I think, wow, that is fantastic. That's my legacy there. And then, of course, that came out in 2003. Obviously, since then, there's been other elements to my life that I've had to add to it, deaths and stuff. But where it is at the moment, I think we're on the 5th edition of it. It pretty much covers everything I've done. So it was very cathartic. I think catharsis is a very useful tool that mankind has. When you can utilize your past to make the present make sense,
right,
without sounding too pretentious.
Sure.
And photography as well. That's been a major love of mine for the last, that's going to be 35 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what do you enjoy taking photos of the most? I mean,
the most I enjoy portraits of people.
okay.
Not necessarily heavily lit, perfectly presented studio portraits, but just impromptu, gotcha, boom, there. But also, there's so much of London that I get so effed off with people complaining about, oh, London's all disappearing, it's all being taken over by. No, it isn't. Yes, there are bits that have changed, but there's still so much beauty in London. And it's my mission to capture as much of that old London as possible. And it's all in my on my website, on my Facebook page. Old London. It's a beautiful place, And I've photographed Paris. I've photographed Barcelona. I never had a camera when I was in New York, which was a great shame. But it's Europe that fascinates me more in some ways.
Yeah.
You know, I miss going to the States. I haven't been to the States since Nashville in 2019, and that was interesting. But unfortunately, we weren't staying in the middle of Nashville because I was expecting to go to a bar with a metal grill over the stage, and there's a kind of ZZ Top tribute band getting beer bottles thrown at them, and
Right.
people riding bucking broncos, and hey, guess you're not from around these parts, huh?
Yeah.
No, we went to a TGI Fridays. It was horrible. Um, anyway, but no, I love America. I love New York, and one of the highlights of doing this whole convention circuit was Celebration 4 in Los Angeles in 2007. And that was extraordinary. I mean, I think there were about 40 of us
Wow.
signers there, everyone. And we even had the mayor of Los Angeles come up on stage wearing a Star Wars tie, saying,
Oh,
"Hey,
wow.
I just want to welcome you all guys to California because I just love Star Wars." Why am I doing a Texan accent? Sorry, I can't. I shouldn't do that. But it was just extraordinary. And they took us. Here's a funny story. Okay, on the last day of the convention, which was a 4-day convention, they decided to take all of us signers to a party in the Hollywood Hills, in the old um, uh, the studios that were owned by Jim Henson, which were the old. Oh, God damn it! Sorry, Hitchcock. No. Um, anyway, sorry,
That's all
brain
right.
team. But they decided to. It would be so much fun for all of us to be on the top deck of an open red London bus driving from the convention center in the downtown LA all the way up to the
Oh,
Hollywood
wow.
Hills. And we're we're on the top deck. It's all a bit chilly, but we're all thinking, hey. And we see all these sort of gang members on the street, and there was one guy in our party who stood up, and I knew he was about to say, "Badges, we don't need no stinking badges." And I thought, if he does that, we're dead. Because these guys have got arm muscles like my thighs, that cut
Yeah.
off shirts and they're
Right.
packing stuff. It was the Jim Henson Studios. It's the Chaplin Studios. There we go. Finally got it right.
Oh, okay.
And it was the most extraordinary place. I mean, we went into the whole sort of labyrinth of all these little studios owned by Chaplin, with Kermit on top of the gateway with a top hat and a cane. I
Oh,
just
that's
thought,
great.
this is brilliant. And they served us hot dogs the size of a giant's leg. And we had to drive back on the open top bus. And I said to this guy, please don't do that. Don't do that thing again. Stinking badges.
Yes.
Because, these aren't extras in a movie. These are real people. And we
Right.
actually saw a mariachi band cross the street in front of us. And I thought, this is fantastic.
Wow.
My one regret is I didn't, on the day off we had, I went to get pizza and a beer with a friend, and another friend of ours, Gerald Home, bless him, he went to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And I thought, oh, why didn't I do that? Because it's not often, is it? You get to do that. And I blew it.
Yeah.
Shame.
Something special for sure. Unique,
Have, have, have I been talking too much?
No, not at all. I love the stories.
Yeah?
Love to hear it. Absolutely. So,
Oh,
after the Return of the Jedi, eventually you would go on to be a part of commercials. Let's hear about your commercial work.
wow. Okay. Well, that actually started in 1986. 87.
Yep.
Because from 82 to 86, I was heavily involved in sort of rock and roll. I had dyed black, long hair, a lot of makeup, interesting futuristic costume stuff. And then my dad died, and I thought, you know what? I'm fed up with this. So I straightened out, and I went to see an agency called Crawford's, and they said, "You've got a great face. We can do something with you. Just cut your hair off. Get rid of that shit." So I did, and all of a sudden, about 4 months later, I got my first commercial, and it just went on and on and on until 2003, and I did over 90 TV commercials. And I put up a clip on my Facebook page yesterday of Polaroids from all the commercials I did. Well, not all of them, but most of them. And I thought, what an extraordinary thing. I played a devil, I played, Dracula, I played nerds, I played this, I played that. And it was fantastic. I was actually earning money for the first time in my life. Proper money, not sort of 300 quid for doing a show in Southport or something,
Yeah.
So I was, but like everything else, you age and that changes, And you look at adverts now, and they're so boring, they're so dull, they're so suburban. And if you have a moment, have a look at the clip I put on my Facebook page, because you can see the quality of some of the adverts I did in the 90s. They were like movies, there was money there, and I just had the right face at the right time, because I could look, or I could look, hey, and they like all
Right
that.
place, right face.
Anyway, how about you? Tell me about yourself.
Well, I mean, I've been in the wrestling world. I was a ring announcer. So I did ring announcing for about 10 years, and I've been in promotions for quite a long time, running fan festivals and conventions, that sort of thing, for wrestling and MMA and different sports. And in recent years, I've been doing a lot of the Comic Cons. I go there as press, so I do photography for them. And
okay, great.
yeah, lots of interviews and that sort of thing. I've always done interviews in different fashions, different forms, but now with the podcast, just started about 2.5 months ago, and this has definitely been something I've always wanted to do. It's been a passion of mine, so really enjoying this.
Oh, that's great. It's always good to find your passion and enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah, it's been going very well, and it's an honor to have people like yourself and just conversate about all the happenings and the different experiences around the world and within the film industry, and it's
Yeah.
fascinating.
I mean, I still occasionally move into the film industry. I did a very funny short movie a few years back called Son of Nosferatu. And it was written by a friend of mine. And it's Nosferatu actually had a son. And when his dad died, he was left penniless. So he thought, oh, F it. I'm coming to London. And he starts selling charity magazines on the street,
Yeah,
And he's thinking, well, this is ridiculous. I'm the son of Nosferatu. And he meets this fairy who's been thrown out of the fairy circle because she was a bit naughty. And the only way she can get back in again is if she does one good deed with someone to get her back into the magic circle. And so she persuades the son of Nosferatu to regain his what do you call it? His power.
yeah.
And it's like a 15-minute sort of love story. And that was great fun to do. And I did, Barbie Wilde, who was in Hellraiser 2?
Absolutely, yeah. I was able to do an interview with her on location at one of the conventions.
Right. Well, she and I did this. It's like a portmanteau series called Dark Ditties Presents. It's on Prime UK. I don't know whether it's shown over there where you are. Sorry. but we did an episode called Dad, and I play a berserk convert who instigates the second coming of this terrible dark creature that causes everyone to become a zombie. And it was all, Barbie's in it as this TV presenter, and I cut my own throat on camera live in front of her. And Barbie is a fantastically well, she's just an extraordinary writer. I've known Barbie for, gosh, nearly 50 years of my life. I love her dearly, but it's just that we've gone from, because she was in the group Shock with myself, we've gone from sort of mime burlesque theatre to, TV presenting, to TV commercials, to writing, and still doing occasional things of TV, I've just done a little interlude for a movie called The Witches of the Sands, which is coming out at the end of next year, which is a very perverse horror movie directed by a friend called Tony Marden. And, so I find that things that I do now, I've done osmotically? That's not the right word, is it? So. Organically, whatever. It's like through someone I know, rather than auditioning for or looking at something and think, oh, I could go for that. If someone says, hey, Tim, do you want to do this? And I go, yeah, absolutely. So that still happens, so it's not like my acting career is over. It's just occasional.
Sure. Yeah, no, it comes in spurts, and things come when it's the right moment. And that's how
I think the secret is not to get sort of wound up about it and say, oh God, my career's over. It's like, well, do something else then.
Yeah.
So it's going to be macrame next, I think, for me. I'm going to be making some very nice Christmas jumpers for people for next year.
Excellent. Very nice. So let's talk about advice. What was the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Oh, God. I don't know. I'm just reminded of a story I was told a long time ago, where a novice is walking along by the river in India, and he sees the master sat beneath a tree, and he goes up and he sits in front of him, hoping that the master is going to impart wisdom. And all of a sudden, the master sort of swipes him really hard around the head. And the novice goes, why did you do that? I haven't done anything wrong. And the master says, why should I wait? Oh, grasshopper.
Yeah.
What is the best? I don't know what the best. I think the best advice I've ever had is don't give up. If you've got a dream, follow it. If you haven't found one, don't surrender to indifference. And I, if I was giving advice to someone else, I would say, do not be swallowed up by the news that you see every day in front of you. That is not all of it. There's more stuff out there or in there that is as important. What is happening outside is bad, but it's not the end of it all.
Sure.
You're still you, I don't know. I don't think anyone's actually given me advice. I think I've picked up advice. I've
learned things along.
Learned stuff, Yeah. Extra was the next movie I did after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, 1982, and you touched on that a little bit. What was that experience like?
Horrible.
Really?
Yeah, really the worst experience I think I've ever had, actually, as a performer. Because there was complete indifference to safety. we were filming in the woods in the middle of Buckinghamshire, which is outside of London, in March in England, which is
Oh, wow.
not nice. I'm wearing a skin-tight rubber suit and the head's on backwards. And the director was obviously out of his brain. You know, it's common knowledge that they were all a bit, you know.
Yeah.
And he, on the last day of doing it, he said, "Tim, we've got one more shot we want you to do. It's like we've dug a whole pit in the wood filled with blackened water, horrible, manky, stinky stuff. We want you to go under with the head on and then emerge gracefully." Okay.
Yeah.
So you can keep your normal stuff on, but just put the head on. And so I go under the water, and as soon as I go under the water, all the water comes in through the eye holes, nostrils, and everything else. And I vaguely hear this voice saying, "Okay, Tim, action. Tim, action." And I sort of rise up majestically, water streaming off me. And they go, "That's brilliant, fantastic. Keep that. Oh, we're just going to do one more for safety." And I say, "No, that's it. You're not. That's it. I'm gone." It was ridiculous. It's you see, the movie now has become a cult movie, and I do horror conventions because of it. And it's just like they were making it up as they went along.
Yeah.
So if you've gone from Return of the Jedi to that, it's like, wow, strange business this is, you know?
Yeah. Now, did you have any interactions with George Lucas?
No, never, unfortunately. I mean, he would appear occasionally on set doing a lot of sort of beer tugging, looking kind of worried, you know?
Yeah.
But Richard Marquand, as I say, was looking after the principals, and David Tomlin was looking after us. And then there'd be a second AD who would look after the extras or whatever. But I became good friends with Robert Watts, actually, who was I think he was the associate producer on that one, and then produced Indiana, and I think he did all four Indianas, actually. He's a lovely guy. He used to come and stay in my flat here in London, and he had so many stories to tell, you know. And we used to go out and eat and drink and talk about stuff. And I just thought, what an extraordinary guy, you know, coming from that period in London, England, you know, leaving the armed services after the war, suddenly becoming a runner for this company, and then moving up to becoming the third AD, to becoming the blah, blah, blah. And his stories about working with people like Steven Seagal, which I can't repeat here. It's far too rude. But he was such a lovely guy. And again, he passed last year. And I think the team that George Lucas had, certainly for those first three movies, were perfect, you know.
Great crew.
Yeah, great crew. And I don't know whether Richard Marquand was the right guy for Return of the Jedi. I think they needed somebody with a little bit more, what's the word? I was going to say humanity, but that's cruel. But you know, somebody who could actually care about the other people as well as the principals. You know, I don't think we ever met him. We never had any contact with him at all. So all of our contact was with David Tomlin, and he was an extraordinary guy. He was a veteran of the British film industry, you know, and but they're all gone, you know. It's just like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've kind of lost interest in pursuing the whole Star Wars journey now. You know, I think I watched a couple of episodes of Andor. I quite enjoyed Rogue One. I thought that was closer
That was
to,
good.
you know, closer to the original three. But all the rest of the Mandalorian, it's like, nah.
Yeah, the thing with me, I'm a huge fan and always have been, but there are so many now that even as a fan, it's very difficult. I feel to keep up.
Mm.
You know, they're going in so many different directions.
Do you think it's going to keep on going? There's going to be even more?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think they've got 3 or 4 in the works already for series. So
Wow.
yeah,
I mean, do you
but
think that young people are picking up on these and ignoring the originals, or?
I don't think they're ignoring. I think it's actually opening the eyes to the originals. You know, people are starting off with this, and then they're finding out about the originals, and
Right,
so if anything, I think it is actually putting more eyes on the series as a whole. You know,
right. Okay. You see, I mean, way back then, the trilogy was it. That was it. That was the
right?
whole saga. So, well, that's done. That's dusted. And then all those years later, it's like, hey, we could do a prequel. Like,
Yeah,
and then, hey, we could do a sequel as well. Now, if you'd left it there, that would have been okay. But then you had to have some bright spot. It's all because Lucas sold it to
yeah,
Disney.
exactly.
You know,
Right. Yeah, when
if
somebody
you,
else takes over, it usually takes a turn, goes a different way.
yeah, if only you just hang on to it. You know, God,
Right.
not as
Yeah.
if you needed the money.
Right. Exactly.
Um, I mean, what other things have I? I liked Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. I
Those are
kind of
very
like.
good.
I'm not a huge fan of the sort of superhero movies. It's all a bit, you know. But I like those because I like a movie with a sort of knowing humor to it.
Yeah.
And if there's musical references within it, which there were in Guardians, and I love Deadpool 1 and 2 as well. Um, I saw what was the last Thor one I saw? I quite like that because I like it when people know they're having fun. You
Sure.
know, they're not
Yeah.
taking it too seriously. Um, but all the rest of it, the whole Marvel universe, it's like,
I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings. I like Lord of the Rings.
I'm gonna shoot myself down in flames and say I've never watched any of them.
Hmm. Yeah, they're quite good.
Yeah, you know what? I never read the books either.
Yeah, I haven't read the books either, but even just coming in, looking at it from a film point of view, I think they're
Yeah,
well done.
I'm probably missing out on some things, you know, but back way back in the 60s and 70s when everybody is reading the same books, you think, well, I'm not going to read those because everyone's reading those.
Right.
You know, there was a book called "To Your Scattered Bodies Go" by a writer called Jose J. Farmer, and it was about everyone who's ever died is reincarnated by the banks of this endless river. And so you'd have Alice in Wonderland meeting Heinrich Himmler, meeting Alexander the Great, or whatever. And it was an extraordinary. He wrote 3 stories about that, and I thought, God, this would make an incredible movie. You know, think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
eventually, someone did. They made a TV series of it, and it was obviously filmed with very little budget, filmed by a sort of a river in northern Canada or something. And it
Mm.
was terrible, you know. And I don't know. it was one of those stories that really triggered my imagination. That what would happen if Alice in Wonderland met the man who discovered the source of the Nile? What would their relationship be? And it was all that sort of thing about, but they have to survive, and they're only fed by these alien sort of mushrooms that produce food once a day.
Yeah.
My aging cat has just emerged. Sorry. Anyway, but yeah, I tend to avoid things that are overly populous.
Right. Yeah. Well,
That I don't know whether you got it in the States or not, but my favorite TV series ever is Penny Dreadful.
Yes, it is here. I've never seen it, but I've definitely heard of it.
Right. Okay. They did 3 seasons in the UK, and it's all set in Victorian London. But what they did, they cleverly wove in all of your favorite literary characters. So you've got Baron Frankenstein, you've got Dracula, you've got a Wolfman, but not the sort of Oliver Reed Wolfman. He's actually a gun shooting cowboy from America who's doing shows in England. You've got Dorian Gray, who's immortal but has a painting in the attic, and this glorious, lovely heroine who is possessed by something that she can't control. But it's erotic, it's sensual, it's historical, it's fantastic. It's the one thing that I can return to again and again.
Yeah. When I was little, probably the late 80s, I was a big fan of a UK production, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
All right.
That was a good one from the UK. Very well done.
Yes, Lewis.
Haven't watched that in a long time, but when it comes to greatest challenge, what would you say was the greatest challenge thus far, being in the industry?
For me personally,
yeah.
Okay, way back in late 88, 89, I decided to do a stage production of a Stephen Burkoff play, one-man play called Harry's Christmas. And it's basically, it's a monologue by one guy who is so fucked off, pissed off
That's right.
with Christmas that he ends up killing himself. But it's a diatribe against the whole mechanics of Christmas, the need to spend, the need to pretend to enjoy, and it's about that thick, and I had to learn all of this dialogue, and that was the biggest challenge I think I've ever faced as a performer. And my then wife directed me in it, and she was very forgiving and very giving as well. We never got angry with each other, which is extraordinary because we'd argue about tea bags back at home. But it was just that, how am I going to learn all this stuff? Because there's no one to bounce off. If you're doing a live play and the person you're acting with drops a line, you think, oh shit, I think what you're trying to say is, and they go, oh yeah, that's okay, you can get around it. But with this thing, it was like I've actually got to learn all of it, and it took 4 weeks, I think, to do it. And the opening night was great. Second night, not so good. Opening nights in fringe plays, you get a full house. You think, brilliant. Second night is 5 people. Oh, bollocks. But there was one night where I completely forgot what was supposed to happen next. And I thought, I know. Oh, I think I hear the postman. So I nip off stage into the dressing room, which was just there, and look at the script and think, oh, that's what I've got to do. Right. So I come back on stage and go, it was no one. And then there was another night I realized that I dropped an entire act of the play. No one noticed. But it was, I think that was the scariest moment of being totally exposed and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I haven't really had any challenges in that respect.
And what would you say was the most rewarding part thus far in your career?
I would say it was actually Harry's Christmas by Stephen Burkhoff. I think I acquitted myself very well as an actor because I managed to lose the middle class side of myself, which you're hearing now, and getting a little bit, a bit cockney like, just sort of working class a bit. That was very satisfying, but also I chose my own wardrobe from the cheapest, horrible shops in London. Finding a terrible cardigan and slacks and loafers and everything, and just creating this horrible character and actually doing it. And it was quite difficult to shake it off, because it was only in a fringe theatre in a pub above in Camden, but you come home and you're still there as Harry in some way.
Sure.
And you've got to kind of adjust back into. So that went on for about 4 weeks, I think. Oh, you can see it behind me, can you? No, you can't, can you? No, sorry, forget it. As an actor, that's the most rewarding thing. As a photographer, I would say that having one of my portraits exhibited in the National Portrait Gallery was a success.
Wow.
And I would also say that having my autobiography published was a success. And also my first novella to have 30 glowing reviews on Amazon is a major success. I was astounded by that.
And it may be difficult to narrow it down to one, but I mean, your writing, your music, your acting, all the different things that you've been a part of, your mime work. If you had to choose one, what is your number one favorite moment in your career?
Wow. Okay, it would be Tick and Talk as the mime duo that I had with Sean Crawford, performing live in front of the Queen and Prince Philip at the Royal Variety Performance in 1983, with 14 million people watching us on TV at home.
Yeah, I don't think you could top that.
I mean, you see, the thing is that we were on tour with Gary Newman, and BBC contacted our record company and said, hey, we're doing a special about dance for the Royal Variety Show. We want Tick and Talk to be on it. And they go, yeah, bring it. And so I think it was the last show we did with Gary Newman. We were driven by a limo straight off stage to the Theatre Royal in Drury Lane in Covent Garden. And we had to do this 58-second act in front of the Queen. No mistake. If you fucked up, you fucked up in front of 14 million people.
Yeah.
But we were so high from doing the live show with Gary Newman that we didn't really have time to think about it. It was only when you get home and it all wears off and you think, bloody hell. And I phoned my mum and dad the next day and I said, what do you think? And my dad said, I understand it all now.
Yeah.
Because I left school, I left art school to pursue whatever. He didn't understand it, bless him.
Right.
But to suddenly see me performing in front of the Queen was it's like, oh, okay, he's all right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you know, everything is an achievement, really, isn't it? I mean, getting up in the morning.
Yeah, no, it's
Um,
true. Little things like, yeah, absolutely.
oh, you're a youngster. What do you know?
It all plays a part though. It does.
I know. I don't know. I can't really define things like that anymore. I'm grateful to be here. You
Yeah.
know, I've just celebrated my 74th birthday. It's just like, really? I was 24 a couple of weeks ago. What happened
Right.
there? um, anyway, it's been a real joy to talk to you. I hope I haven't sort of kept you.
Same here, without a doubt. And I actually had another question in regards to
Okay.
Star Wars. There
Yeah.
was something that I saw online, and I didn't know if it was accurate. It said that you were also uncredited in another role as Jabba's informant. Is that true?
Uh,
And it
okay.
lists the character name as Tanis.
Oh, yeah. No, it's this Tanya Spyjet thing. Um, the thing with the credits on Return of the Jedi is that Tim Dry is actually credited as a mime artist, not as a character. So you don't see Jay Quill played by Tim Dry. You don't see Mon Calamari Officer played by Tim Dry. What you get way down the cast list are nine mime artists. Um,
Okay.
Somehow somebody got this Tanya Spyjet thing in. I don't know where that's come from. I've tried to change it. I can't change it. You know, um, somebody produced a book, probably, God, even that was 10, 15 years ago, called Tales from Jabba's Palace. And inside is Jay Quill's story that he's not actually uh, on the side of Jabba. He's there to assassinate Jabba because he's
Wow.
been employed by his lover, the Queen Valerian or whatever her name is. Yeah. Um,
That's interesting.
it is interesting. It's a paperback. You can pick up a copy on eBay or whatever. But
Ah.
you know, for years I've always said, "Oh yeah, I was a bad boy and a good boy in Return of the Jedi." But it turns out I was actually a good boy in both of them. Yeah. But this Tanya Spyjek, I mean, I know who played him in the movie. It was another mime called Graham Hattrick, um,
Okay.
but they won't let me change it in IMDb. It's really annoying, you know.
Interesting.
I don't know
And in the year,
sorry,
oh, sorry.
please.
Well, in the year 2000, you were also a part of the 10th Kingdom. What was that experience like?
Aha, that was brilliant. I yes, I got a call. I went to audition, and they said, "Okay, we want you to be the naked emperor's grandson." Okay, sure. You will be just wearing a thong. Okay. You know, so you think, do I sort of pump up or whatever? Um, and they gave me this sort of horrible grey wig and a crown, and I've got tattoos on each shoulder which they had to cover up, and all I'm wearing is a sort of flesh-coloured codpiece, which is not a good look for any mature man.
Yeah.
And I had to sort of go on set in a dressing gown with every take, and as soon as Anne Margaret makes her grand entrance down the stairs, you know, and the first time she did it, the first take she did, I'm there, and they've whisked off the dressing gown, and for all intents and purposes, I'm completely naked, and I'm going, hey, and she was, oh my god, can't. She actually thought I didn't have any kit on at all,
Oh,
but I did have these two valets in sort of military uniforms who were covering my nethers with big sort of ostrich feather fans, front and back, But it
Right.
was kind of weird being on stage wearing a loincloth in front of an entire crew of actors and extras. And
Wow.
it was great fun. I mean, I only had a couple of lines, such animal courage. Good on that.
That's great.
But there's an end scene where Rutger Hauer, sorry, he gets very cross. He got very cross if he got his name wrong. Rutger Hauer. He plays the archer and he comes in and I don't know. He's the baddie that's been pursuing this sort of heroine throughout the centuries. And there was an after gig party where we're all given champagne, but see, I'm still wearing my dressing gown and the wig, and I see Rutger is coming around. He's handing out champagne, and he gets to me and he goes, "Fucking hell," because he thinks that I'm actually that in real life.
Yeah.
Bless, Another one, go on, please. No, that was a fun thing to do. Again, it was at Pinewood actually, which is a lovely old English studio, and yeah, I think that was the most enjoyable sort of movie thing I've done. It wasn't uncomfortable. Well,
Yeah.
apart from being pretty much naked in front of.
Right. Now, do you have a keepsake that kind of sticks out? All the projects you've been on, whether it be television or film, is there a keepsake that you've kept that you were able to keep that maybe you still have to this day to kind of remember a piece of your career?
It certainly wasn't the jockstrap from Tenth Kingdom. No, I don't. I don't actually. I regret that I don't. No, I didn't think about it. When you're doing that sort of stuff, you're just lucky to get the job. You don't think about, oh, I mean, nicking anything from a Lucasfilm movie would be problematic. I mean, I suppose my big regret is losing Harrison Ford's autograph, but
Right.
no. I mean, what could I take from Return of the Jedi,
Right. Not gonna be able to take Jay Quill home, I don't think. Right.
No, but I mean, I'm sure the head is probably still there somewhere, but the whole bodysuit is rotted away. Absolutely,
Sure.
Extra, no, that's probably, again, that was all latex, so that's probably rotted away. I don't think back then people thought about archiving stuff,
Right.
Now, of course, I think everything goes back in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't have any career regrets.
Sure.
God, I look like Hulk Hogan. Fuck. Sorry, it's this lighting.
Yeah,
No,
you've been a part of so many great things, whether, and it's across the board, the music, the writing, the mime work, the film, the
yeah,
television, you've really been a part of a lot of great things. And in 1991, you also appeared on one episode of The Bill, which was very popular. A lot of people, or a few people from the Star Wars industry have been a part of The Bill. What was your
oh,
experience on that episode?
everyone who is, an aspiring actor in the UK gets a part in The Bill, EastEnders, Casualty. Um, those were the big three back then. No, I got a call from my agent back then and said, "Hey, you're going along to play a reporter in one episode of The Bill." So you go down to the location, which was in South London. It was mocked up to be a police station, and you just do a read through and you do it and go, "That's it, brilliant." I think Father Ted. You ever get that show in the States?
Doesn't sound familiar.
Oh, it's probably the most popular British comedy sitcom ever.
Oh, wow.
It's set in Ireland, and it's about a household of Irish priests. And I was very lucky enough to get a part in one episode called Kicking Bishop Brennan Up the Arse.
Oh,
Um, how can I explain it? It's if you imagine a household of three Irish priests. One is a sort of a young, naive, wide-eyed sort of priest. The other one is grey-haired, sort of slightly wiser, older, and the third one is this complete alcoholic, toothless kind of character, and they get themselves involved in these ridiculous situations where it's very hard to explain it, but check it out on YouTube or something.
yeah.
Father Ted
Okay.
and Kicking Bishop Brennan Up the Arse is I play a Vatican aide, and I'm introducing the Pope to all these, Irish Catholic priests, and one of them suddenly realizes he did kick me up the arse, and like, oh God, it all goes totally pear-shaped. But I think I've earned more money from that than any other TV show ever because they're always repeating it.
Wow. Okay. Replays and
Father
yeah.
Ted,
Yeah.
it really is. I never watched it until I was in it, and then I sort of thought it's very Irish, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it has a kind of dark, anti kind of Catholic vibe to it, but it's funny. It's not intense, it's
Right.
not like ooh. It's just very, very silly. It's almost like if Monty Python did a kind of Catholic priest
Okay.
gag, it would be like that.
And how
But
can fans follow you? And do you have a website?
yeah, timdry.co.uk.
Okay.
It is what it is. And Tim Dry on Facebook, as you know. There's Tim Dry on Instagram. But yeah, I mean, I do have a lot of fans. I try to cater to everyone, and I always try to keep people amused. I don't do politics. I certainly don't do religion. I just like to entertain. And I think that's, if I have a job, then I am an entertainer. It's not contrived. It's just like, well, have a look at this. Have you think about that? It's funny. I mean, all the commercials I did. I put a clip up yesterday of a selection of them with my own music, and it's just like, wow, that was an amazing time actually.
Yeah.
They would come in almost every week, and you go along and you audition, and maybe you get 1 out of 5 or whatever, but it seemed to be so regular, and it was just, I couldn't believe it. Having gone from being a sort of impoverished mime artist to having a brief flash in Jedi and Extra, and then a bit of rock and roll. It was like, oh. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I
Yeah.
must be earning money from this.
Right. And in closing, Tim, fast forward years
Sure.
from now, when you're looking back at your career as a whole, what do you want your
Yeah.
legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
I entertained you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's as a photographer, a mime artist, an actor, musician, whatever, I did my best to entertain you. And I think that shows in the sort of following I have. I mean, it's not vast compared to, proper people, but I've got 5,000 friends on Facebook, and I think that they appreciate that I do entertain.
Right.
And that's I'm not here to enlighten or to doctrinate or to, instill anything that isn't there already. I want to make people happy, If occasionally I can make them think, then that's cool. But really, look, the world is going to hell in a handcart. Let's have a laugh before it hits the bottom.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here. It's been my absolute pleasure, and I really appreciate you being here for this.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure too.
Thank you, Tim. And for Tim Dry, I am Joseph Bruen, and this has been the All Access Entertainment Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments. We'd love to hear from you, the fans, and what you thought of this episode. Tim Dry, thank you so much.
Joseph, you're a star.